Forged with a passion for steel and an iron-like eye for talent. This is the Recruiter of Steel podcast. Blast right in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the first episode of the Recruiter of Steel podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Rossi, founder of American Dream Search and the Recruiter of Steel himself. And I'm so happy to be joining you all today on this new and improved podcast that you all are listening to, known as the Recruiter of Steel podcast. So to start, let me address the elephant in the room. We did have a podcast prior. If you look at the audio feed here, you'll see about 12 different episodes from a podcast called Let's Talk Talent. That was my previous podcast. Okay. I've been in the podcasting world for a little bit now, but third time's the charm. And that's what we're doing with the Recruiter of Steel. But for those of you watching that were fans of my past podcast called Let's Talk Talent, the good news is you still will have a home here. Let's Talk Talent, if you've listened to any of the prior episodes, was about talent acquisition, recruiting, and trying to help people get the best talent possible for their organization. I would host recruiters, I would host TA professionals, I would host some executives, and we would all talk about strategies regarding recruitment, retention, development, in order for you to build a high-performing team. That is still what I do on a daily basis, right? I'm a headhunter. I'm a headhunter in the steel industry, but I am a recruiter by trade. So recruitment, retention, talent development, all of those things are still going to be a topic here. So if you still want to hear my insights and my, knowledge around that and talk about those topics, we're still going to do that here, but we're going to add another layer, which is the steel industry. And for anyone who has listened to our past episodes, including the most recent episode with my good friend Chief, or Chris Ship, you'll notice that we did interview an executive in the steel industry. Shout out to Chief. Thank you for coming on. And that, by and large, was our most viewed episode, most talked about episode, and an episode that really resonated with the steel community, which is a community that I've built up over the last year and a half or so. And it started thinking, right? Because I play in this industry, the world of steel, metals industry. And I said, you know what? It's good that if we had a platform or some type of podcast or some type of resource for the community to actually listen to and hear from their peers, hear from leadership, hear from those that could bestow their knowledge and wisdom of the steel world onto you. And so that's where the Recruiter of Steel was born, right? We're fusing together the topics of recruitment and the steel industry to give you this show. Okay. Now, there's going to be a couple different ways we conduct the Recruiter of Steel podcast. So number one, like this episode right here, I'll come on and give you a one-on-one, right? Just me, 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes tops. And I'll talk with you one-on-one about a topic, whether that be recruitment, whether that be something I'm seeing in the market, maybe it's motivational, anything to come on one-on-one, and I'll talk with you directly as your host. The second way that we'll conduct the show is probably going to be the most common, which is interview-based, right? I will be interviewing mostly folks in the steel industry, candidates that I've spoken with that are sales professionals and sales leaders, potential clients that I'm working with that want to spotlight their company and talk about what they're doing and how they're changing the game, right? These are the people, these are the types of guests that you could expect when you subscribe to this podcast. So let's take a pause now. Anybody listening, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's on Apple Podcasts, whether that's on Spotify, please click the subscribe button, click the follow button, whatever it is on whatever platform. This way you're notified every single time an episode is posted. I'm going to do my best to give you an episode every single week. Again, I run a 360 recruitment desk. It's a lot. I'll try to get it to you as much as I can, but the goal is to give you one episode per week. This way you could either fill your mind with motivation, knowledge of recruitment, or hear from your peers in the steel industry and stay up to date on the market. That's the goal. Okay. So Recruiter of Steel got two different forms, right? I'm talking with you one-on-one. I'm interviewing either executives, sales professionals, or just professionals in general that belong in the steel industry. You'll hear from some colleagues, some people you may know personally, some people you may have heard of that are leaders in the space, and some you may have never heard of before, but you'll get a really good insight and scoop into what they do. And hopefully that helps broaden your knowledge of the market and the industry. And that's the goal. Okay. The other goal that I had in mind with this podcast too is there's not a lot of marketing material, digital marketing material regarding the steel industry, right? There's not so many podcasts out there about the world of metals. There's not so many YouTube channels or shows dedicated to steel or what this industry means for the world, right? And as a recruiter in the steel industry, as a recruiter that is constantly working with different companies, working with service centers, working with mills, working with stampers, working with fabricators, you start to learn that, you know what, it's more than just placing positions, right? Obviously, that's what I'm here to do for my clients, is get them the best talent, fill their roles, help their organizations grow. But when you niche down to a specific industry like I have, you start to think, what could I do for this industry, right? What could I do for the steel industry, particularly the steel industry in America? And by doing this podcast, giving some type of resource or material that will be distributed on all social platforms, that will get engagement, that will get viewership, right? My goal is to recruit for the steel industry at large. Okay, that is the goal. So when I mean recruit for the steel industry at large, I mean share knowledge, educate, entertain those that may not even be knowledgeable about the steel industry, those that might not have been exposed to the steel industry, and get them interested, get them talking, because the reality is this: the steel industry in America is aging, right? We have an aging workforce. I believe the average person in the industry right now is in his mid 50s and likely a male. And we have a new demographic coming in, right? We need younger folks to come into the steel industry. We probably could use a more diverse workforce as well, more women, more minorities to join the industry as well. And we really want to make it accessible to everyone, because what you start to find is folks that are in the steel industry currently usually had past family generations exposed to the industry. Very rare do you see somebody that said, you know what, I'm 5 years old. My parents were a doctor and a lawyer, but I want to be in the steel industry. But that's what we want to try to create, right? We want to try to create interest, generate some excitement around this industry, because whether you like it or not, it's in everything that we do. The civilized world would not exist if it wasn't for steel, right? You drive in a car, there's metal in that car. You drive over a bridge, that bridge is built in steel. You look at the skyscrapers in the city that you're driving into, those I-beams, right, were got there on a truck, and that truck was probably from a service center that we've been working with, right? So that's the reality of the world of steel. It's in everything. It makes up our civilized world. And I think it's so important to provide some type of channel, some type of resource for that industry. So again, if you're listening to this, if you're a seller in the industry, if you're a leader in the industry, if you're working on the shop floor, this podcast is for you. So again, please subscribe, please share with your friends. This is hopefully going to be a weekly resource for you. Again, on the flip side, those of you that were past fans of Let's Talk Talent, I'm still here. I'm still a recruiter. That's still my passion. I'm still going to be talking about recruitment, retention, and all the above. So stay tuned as well. If you're not subscribed on that front of anything, please subscribe and continue to follow the podcast there. So two forms of the podcast: me coming on directly talking to you, also interviews with folks from the steel industry, and then occasionally I will bring on a fellow recruiter, a fellow headhunter that I admire, and we'll talk about all things recruitment on that front. So those are going to be the three ways that you kind of hear of this podcast, right? Directly from me, interviewing with folks in the steel industry, and then potentially maybe a roundtable of recruiters or something of that sort. But those are the topics that we're going to focus on. Okay. Now, for this first episode, and I appreciate you all joining me, I wanted to talk about where we are right now in the market. Okay. So this episode is airing December 2nd. We have a month left until 2025. And as everyone is aware, we just had a very consequential election that took place. President Trump will be coming into office in 2025, and it is expected that tariffs and other policies will have a pretty sizable impact on the steel industry, hopefully increasing domestic steel production or at least making it more of an incentive to do so, and could really shake up things in terms of the market. So what I'm seeing in the market, and I'm not going to talk about, certain policies or politics or anything like that too much on this show, but I'm sensing a ton of optimism in the market right now, ever since that election specifically, at least once the uncertainty was done, right? Because there's always uncertainty heading into an election season, and especially business leaders, they want to lay low until they fully know what to expect going into the new year. And now that a new administration is coming in, having both the House and the Senate, it's very clear that a certain set of policies are going to take place in 2025. And for the most part, what I am seeing in the market is a lot of excitement around what is, possibly going to take place next year. And with that excitement becomes a lot of moving in the market, right? So I put up a poll the other day and I asked, with the election uncertainty done and everything kind of all set, are you open to new opportunities in 2025? And I asked this to my LinkedIn network, which compromises over 5,000 folks in the steel industry. And I said, just for metals industry professionals only, are you open to new opportunities in 2025, given, the uncertainty of the election and all that's over? And after about 100 participants participating in the poll, 89% said yes. I'm ready to make a move in 2025. 89% of the market. Okay, let's digest this. If you're a business leader, if you're a C-suite executive at a service center, at a mill, anything in the steel industry, you have to think, not only is this a major opportunity, but you have to shore up your talent right now. Okay, you have a month left until the new year hits, until a slew of job openings take place at your competitors, at other industries, to a point where headhunters like me are going to be coming for your talent. You need to retain your top folks now, because chances are they're open to a move. Okay, so if you are an industry leader listening to this podcast right now, the first order of business that you need to have from today, December 2nd, to the end of the year, is talk with your top people. Are they happy? Do they feel like they're earning what they need to be earning? Are they looking for growth in their career? Do they want to get to that management level, that director level in 2025? And if they do you have a path for them to get there? Because if you don't, a good chance is they're probably going to jump ship. Okay. Think about if there was a management change. Management changes are one of the biggest reasons I see people start to leave positions. If there was a management change, ask them, are you satisfied with the new management? Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you content? Or has this management change shaken things up too much to the point where you're really not happy and you're looking to go somewhere else? Okay, because we need to get that in order. Top salespeople, they want to earn what they're worth. They don't want to be capped off in terms of commission and bonuses, but more importantly, they want the autonomy to do what it is that they know how to do. They know how to sell. They know how to grab business. If you're tying their hands behind their back, if you're counting their calls every single day and making their life a living hell, well, they're going to want to go elsewhere, right? They're going to want to go where they're treated like an adult. So first order of business is retain your top talent now. Talk with them in December, see how happy they are. Are they earning where they want to be earning? Are they feeling like they have mobility in your company? Make sure that they are happy heading into 2025, because come January, they are going to be reached out to by a ton of recruiters, myself included. And if you didn't make sure that you checked on them, it might be too late. Okay, so retention should be top of mind right now, especially considering those poll results. On the flip side, the good news is 89% of people at your competitors are open to a move. So if you're looking to grow in 2025, if you're optimistic about where the market might be, given new policies that come forth with the administration or just the changing dynamics of the market from 24 to 25, this is a great opportunity to grow. This is a great opportunity to hire. People are open. People are excited. People want to see what's out there in this, excited market. So now is also the time where you want to build up a pipeline of candidates heading into 2025 so that you have a bench to pull from if you want to grow. Okay. January, February, it's almost too late. And I say that because when you're reaching out to these top candidates, they're probably already somewhere in an interview process elsewhere, and they might have their mind made up with a different competitor because you waited too long. December is a great time to start those conversations. It's not a time to hard sell anybody. It's not a time to lock anybody into a position, but it's a good time to schedule lunches, schedule a virtual coffee chat, talk with people, see where their motivations are. Where do they want to get to in 2025? Can your organization give them a path to get there? And if you can, now's your time, right? You warm them up in December, holidays hit, people are a little bit more laid back, they're a little bit more likely to open up. Now's the time to have those conversations so that come January, when the budget renews and you're ready to hire again, now you just give them a call, shoot them a text, we're ready to go, right? That's how you do it. You don't start those conversations too late. You start them now, you get them warmed up, and then come January, come February, that's when you shore up your talent. So recruitment and retention starts now in December. Again, 89%, can't stress this enough, guys. 89% of the market is open to new opportunities. That's crazy. LinkedIn surveys tend to say that 80% of talent are open to opportunities. This is almost 10% higher than that. So this is the steel industry. So a lot of opportunity to happen. Okay. Those of you that are listening that are not in a position of leadership, if you're a job seeker, right, understand this. 89% of you are open. So chances are, if you're listening, you're probably thinking about maybe I could do something different in 2025. Number one, you could talk to me, right? I'm happy to help you. Happy to help get you a new position and see what I got. And obviously on that front, but also think about this too. A lot of your competition is also open to new opportunities as well. So there's going to be a lot of movement in the market, right? You might see some colleagues jump ship. You might have some new colleagues come in as a result. You might be getting reached out to by some recruiters like myself, like some other headhunters. And there's going to be a lot of moving pieces in the market. So just understand this, know what you're worth, right? You know what you're worth. You have a number that you're not willing to go below. You have certain responsibilities, so not certain autonomy that, you want to keep in place. And that's exactly what you should be doing. So know your worth, see what's out there, survey the market. Don't jump ship too soon, right? You want to see what other companies have to offer. You want to see at least 3 different opportunities come to fruition so that you could kind of make your judgment case in terms of where to go. And you want to keep those options open, right? Because again, there's going to be a lot of movement. A lot of people are open, and it's just going to be a really exciting time, guys. I'm super stoked about it, if you can't tell. So it's going to be really fun. But no, listen, it's going to be a very exciting time. I'm super happy to be here bringing this podcast to you. And for those of you listening, what I wanted to talk about today was not only just the market heading into 2025, which is going to be a lot of moving pieces. But for those of you that, again, going back to the sales leadership, hiring managers, those of you that are trying to grow your organization, how do you steal top talent, right? Because that's what I do. That's my job. I steal top talent. Pun very much intended, by the way. Okay. So when we think of attracting the best talent to our organization, there's a couple different ways you go about this. So number one, the conversation should start before the conversation even starts. Okay, now what do I mean by that? I mean your brand, right? You need to build your brand, and you need to build brand awareness into the market so that before those conversations even start face to face or phone to phone, however you're doing it, people know who you are, right? You can't come from a place of obscurity and then say, you know what, you're going to make all this money in commission and all this, and that, when nobody knows who you are or what you're capable of, right? You need to establish brand presence in the market. And one thing that I'm seeing a total opportunity for, which is why I'm doing this podcast, is a lot of companies need to go more into social. They need to go more into digital. right? They need to build that brand awareness. You should be posting on the daily for your company. You should be showcasing what your culture does. You should be having interviews with your current employees, asking them, what's it like to work here? What's the experience like? Are you satisfied? Are you happy? Sharing those with the public, right? And that's what we're trying to do here at American Dream Search. For anyone listening, in 2025, come Q1, we are offering recruitment video services for any of our clients, which meaning we'll come on site to your organization, film your operations, film your facility, interview your prospective employees, and create a nice professionally produced recruitment video, because that helps so much in the market. People see that. Even if they're not in talks with you right now, you could have a top rep at another organization see that video and say, wait, I never thought of XYZ Steel Company before. But now that I saw that video, now that everything seems so professionally produced, that their operations looked immaculate, that their employees looked happy, maybe I'll give them a second thought. I didn't answer that recruiter's message right away, but now that I actually see it, I believe it, right? Seeing is believing. Video is the fastest growing form of content. Go all in on video, whether it's through me, whether it's through somebody else. Go in on video, right? Post on TikTok, post on Instagram, get it out on LinkedIn, right? Have your employees share it, not just from your company page. Have your employees actually physically post. We're trying to grow together, right? 2025, it's a year of growth. Like I said, this is what we do. This is how we steal top talent. We build our brand. We get our brand out there. That's what we do, right? Going forward, once we build that brand awareness, we build that employer brand in the market, right? When we go to market, we need to know how to go to market. We need to know who to target. We need to know how to message those folks. And that's where a headhunter like myself will come into play, right? I know if you're, for example, selling a certain product line, what service centers do we go after? Who sells a comparable product? Who sells at a comparable location? Who is active in that territory that you want somebody in? That's what I know how to do, right? You need to work with a recruiter or headhunter that knows how to do that. But more importantly, when you do that, you need to make sure that that person accurately represents your brand, especially if you're doing what I said prior and you're on point with your brand, right? You're putting out all forms of content. You're showcasing yourselves as professionals. You're putting everything out there. You have a certain standard that you want to set for yourself. You need to make sure that your recruiter, your headhunter, whoever you're having go out on your behalf to do this, accurately represents you and represents you in a professional light. So the messaging is very important, right? We don't over embellish when we reach out to candidates, right? We say it like it is. We're very transparent, but we're also in addition to transparency and truth, we're also going to say, this is what's possible here. And here's the steps in terms of how you make it possible. And you need to be able to articulate that in a message to gain somebody's interest. It's not easy, especially in January, February. Like I said, right? 89% of people are open. Tons of jobs are going to flood the market in Q1. People are going to get bombarded with messages. Who do they choose who to respond to? It's going to be the person that showcases, transparency in their messaging, right? What's the salary? What's the on-target earnings? Is it possible to get there? What's the company infrastructure like to help me succeed, right? That's big too. It's not all about what's in it for you as an organization. It's also about what's in it for the candidate. Hiring is a two-way street. So the messaging is very important. Again, experienced headhunters like myself will know how to do that. But if you have questions on that, obviously, feel free to message me directly on LinkedIn. I'm happy to give you some pointers. The other thing too, past the messaging, once we gain the candidate interest, which hopefully after dialing in our brand, being super targeted in terms of who we go after, and then dialing in the messaging, it's very important that we have a quick and concise interview process. The biggest thing as a headhunter that I try to prioritize is the candidate experience, right? The candidate experience is so crucial for long-term relationships and for the short term as well, right? Nobody wants to do a recruiter phone screen, then wait 2 weeks to hear a yes from a hiring manager, then wait another week to try to schedule something, and then have the interview, get excited again, and then wait another 2 weeks till the second round. Can't do that. what should happen is a 48-hour time turnaround. That's what I try to stress to my clients. I know it's not easy. I know people have a ton on their plate other than recruiting, but guess what? If you're serious about hiring, if you're serious about growing in 2025, you will dial in your interview process to make sure that candidates that are especially qualified are pushed through that process quickly, right? Nobody wants to wait around. So 48 hours or 2 business days is the timetable that we target for feedback, right? If you interview on a Monday, by end of day Wednesday, you should hear direction on next steps, period. And that next step should be no longer than a week out. So if you hear back on Wednesday, right, you get back with a candidate on Wednesday, you should be interviewing that candidate before Wednesday of next week, assuming no crazy schedule conflicts or vacation time, right? You need to be able to do that. You need to be able to move quickly. And for anyone listening, stop with the crazy interview processes too, right? I mean, waiting is enough, but nobody wants more than a 3-step interview process. Your recruiter phone screen, that's 1. You talk with the hiring manager, that's 2. You talk with leadership and have a roundtable, that's 3. And then the decision is done. There doesn't need to be 6 rounds of interviews. There doesn't need to be 8 phone calls. There doesn't need to be an elaborate case study or business plan that you ask the candidate for. Okay. A small thing is fine here and there on an interview, but nobody needs to do extra homework. People can make C-level hires in a matter of 2 rounds. I've seen CMOs and CSOs get hired in literally 2 rounds of interviews. You don't need 6 interviews for an inside sales rep. You just don't. Okay. You're complicating the process that way. The key is a quick 3-round interview process. Should take less than 2 weeks. You get that offer on the table. You get a candidate to verbally accept the offer first. No reason to have to draft up an offer with legal and HR, waste people's time if the candidate's not going to accept. So you get that verbal commitment first, and then you send that offer out for signature. That's the way we work at American Dream Search, and that's the way everyone should work, because you know what? We prioritize the candidate experience, okay? I try to make sure that my clients do their best to get feedback. I will chase them down. I know if you're listening and you're a client of mine, you probably hear from me a little bit too much in terms of that, but it's important, right? Because as a headhunter, as a recruiter that's niched down in this industry, these relationships are everything to me, right? Because even if I don't place you at that position, doesn't mean I can't help you out 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road, right? These are long-term relationships. I look at everything as a long-term relationship, client or candidate, right? Nothing is transactional in my world. So I look to prioritize the candidate experience. I look to prioritize my client experience. And the best way that you can do that, especially if you're looking to grow in 2025, everybody, is make sure that you have your process dialed in. It's not overcomplicated. It doesn't take too long. It's very clear. It's very concise. No questions asked, and you move through it. The last thing that top talent wants to deal with is an overdrawn out interview process or confusion on the other end. Because think about this. If you're interviewing with a company and they don't know what the hell they're doing on an interview process, or they don't know where to go next, do you really think that person's going to have the perception that you have their best interest and you're going to give them all the tools to succeed when they come on board? No, you're eroding their trust before you even bring them on board. You can't do that. Take a step back if you need to. Think about, what is my interview process going to be in 2025? I just stated what is a standard gold practice, right? Quick recruiter phone screen, virtual interview with the hiring manager, and then last interview that could be in person or virtual with a round table of executives. And that's it. Everyone gets a say at the seat at the table. Everyone gets to speak with the candidate, and then you learn from there. That's a golden process to have. But so yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming at, guys. I know kind of spoke a lot on this one, but I'm super excited to be with you all. The Recruiter of Steel is here. I hope that just keep bestowing some of this recruitment knowledge on you helped. If you're an executive, if you're a leader, you're looking to grow in 2025 and you're not connected with me already, feel free to shoot me a connection on LinkedIn. Feel free to DM me. Happy to help in whichever way that I can. If you're a candidate listening and you're looking to get hired, right? Looking for new opportunities in 2025. Again, I prioritize the experience. So I'm willing to speak with anybody in the industry, even for just 15 minutes. Even if I don't have a job for you right now, right? Because I think it's so important to speak with everybody and hear what you have to say so that, we build that relationship. And, it's a long-term thing, right? It's not something that we're looking to do a transaction on. So super happy, again, super excited to have you all here today. This is the Recruiter of Steel podcast. Again, if you're not subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button, click the follow button. If you like this episode, please share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues, anybody in the industry, and everybody. Again, till next time, and best of luck heading into the new year.
Thanks for listening to the Recruiter of Steel podcast. If you enjoyed our finished product, please subscribe and leave a rating. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.